Hi, this is Scott with 4D Tech. Today we are in a 13 to 16 body style Ford Fusion that came equipped with a 4-inch screen. We will be performing the 4 to 8-inch conversion with Sync 3 from 4D Tech in this vehicle. We need a few basic tools to perform the conversion, some plastic dash removal tools, and a 7mm nut driver. Both the nut driver and the plastic dash removal tools are available on our website for your convenience. Let's get started. First, we need to remove this black piece of trim around the shifter. So we'll take one of our dash removal tools and get underneath the front edge of it and use our fingers as well and unsnap it. There are also clips back here in between the two silver sections that need to be unsnapped. We'll set that aside. Next, we need to unsnap this silver trim that goes around the back side of the shifter here. We'll work our way around with our dash removal tool. Set that aside as well. Now we'll need to remove the silver piece of trim that goes all the way around the bezel and vents. The easiest way to do this is to get your fingers underneath one side here, and you can also help with the trim removal tool. Get underneath the edge here and unsnap it. And then we'll do this side as well. Once those are unsnapped, we can work our way up around the piece of trim, prying it out and helping with our hands. Once the trim is out, we need to remove the bezel around the existing 4-inch screen with the controls in it. There are two 7mm screws on each side of the knobs here that need to come out. Once those two screws are out, we can pull this bezel forward, putting our fingers underneath it and unsnap it. Once we tilt it down, there's two connectors that need to be disconnected here. This further connector has a clip right where my thumb is. Well, we'll squeeze it and unplug it. This one has a clip right at the top edge here. We'll squeeze that with our thumb as well and pull the connector out. This bezel can get set out of the way as well, as it will not be used in the new installation. Next, we need to remove the screws that hold in the existing 4-inch screen and remove the screws for the audio control module as well. We'll remove the existing 4-inch screen. And there's a connector on the back here that has a lever on it. You'll push this little tab in front of the lever where my finger is and pull the lever towards you and it'll push the connector out. We can take this screen also and set it out of the way as it will not be used again. Next, we'll pull the audio control module forward. We will need to make a connection to the back of it. As we install our conversion harness, we're going to pull it out of the way so we can start running our wiring. When we pull out the audio control module, we'll unplug this center connector here, as we'll be teeing into that as part of the conversion process. We'll push the tab where you see my thumb and slide it out, and we'll set that aside. To begin the conversion process, we'll start to install our 4-inch to 8-inch conversion harness. With this conversion harness, we're going to start with this large 54-pin connector here. The mating connector to this is at the sync module down near the firewall below the console. What we're going to do is feed this down in that direction and then pick it up on the bottom side to connect it. Also, at the same time, we will be routing our wiring back for the new hub. This small connector here with this black cable needs to get routed to the back of the car, so we're going to send that down along with this connector. There will be space down in the corner here. You'll want to route it down, and once you're on the lower side, you will be able to pick it up and see where you're pushing it. While we're down here, we're going to have to route a USB cable as well. In the kit is both a cable and an extension. They do clip together. It does not matter what order you put them in. You'll end up with a male connector at each end that are the same. So we're going to route this down in the same path as it's going to follow the hub connector. Next thing we need to do is remove the side panel of the console to get to the sync module and run our cabling back for the hub. We'll just grab a hold of this panel with our fingers, getting it over and above it, and pull out. If we work our way back a little bit, you can just bend it out of the way. You do not need to completely take it out. The sync module is on a bracket all the way up in this corner, and it's just kind of snapped in. So you just need to grab a hold of it and slide it out. We'll slide it out, and there's a 54-pin connector in this USB cable. To disconnect the USB cable, there's a clip on the back side of it here where my finger is. Squeeze the clip and unplug it. Then you'll have plenty of slack. You're going to want to pull this clip that's held onto this metal bracket. Push this tab in front of the gray lever, pull the gray lever towards you to unplug this connector. We can actually set this module out of the way. Now what we'll do is get our wiring the rest of the way down into this opening that we sent down earlier. We should have the large connector we sent down, the small connector, and the USB cable. We'll pull all the slack to the gray connector down, and enough on the USB cable. We do have an extension that's going to go on this, so leave enough up here to be able to easily connect to the new module. To plug these together, leave the lever swung out towards you. This will only plug in one way, so you may need to turn it 180 degrees to get it to slide in. When it starts to slide in, the lever will start to move. Move the lever with it till it clips in, and you'll see that this is flat to the connector there, this little tab. This can actually just get shoved up in this opening, and also the USB cable that we disconnected does nothing as we're running a new USB cable. We'll take the extension that came with the kit for the USB cable and plug it in. And we'll route these cables along the side of this console and back to here. We need to take this USB plate out here, and it's going to get replaced with the hub. When we pop the plate out, on the back side of it, there's going to be an above tab and a lower tab that need to get released at the same time. You'll need to hold one while you pop the other and then slide the cable out. This cable will get tucked down in the opening as it will not be used again. Next, we'll pull both the USB cable and the power connector up through the opening. We'll make sure that these wires are just tucked in a way where they're not going to come out when we put the panel back on. They can get tucked underneath the edge of the carpet. This panel, which we'll just snap it back on real quick while we're over here, but it just snaps back on the same way it came off earlier. There is a lip on the upper side of the panel that just needs to go up underneath, and then it all snaps on. Now we'll grab our hub to install that. Now that we have the cables run into here, we'll take our new Sync 3 hub and the mounting adapter and install them. The hub will slide into the mounting adapter only one way and clip in. And then on the back side here, we'll plug in the USB cable, and then we'll take this power connector and plug that in as well. Once those are in, we slide this in the opening and clip it in. Next, we need to continue routing the conversion harness. This cable here with the couple of wires with pins hanging off of it will get routed to the connectors that plug into the front control panel. To do this, we'll pull the ACM forward, and you'll want to push it behind the black plastic brace that's behind the ACM and bring it out down below it. We'll do that because we don't want the cable to get pinched between the ACM and that brace. Once we have that pulled forward, you can just prop the ACM up like that to keep it out of your way. This connector here, that's the right angle connector, will get plugged in to this connector from the conversion harness here as it's teeing in. Next, we need to connect this T harness that's got the orange wires in it to the back of the ACM. We'll pull the ACM out. We'll take this, tuck it behind this and around the back brace here. We'll take the connector that we unplugged from the ACM earlier, plug it into the one side of the T-harness, and then the other side will plug into the back of the ACM. Slide our ACM back in place, making sure not to trap any of the connectors that we just put, that we still need to get to. Next, if you have a rear view camera that comes up on the screen, you'll need to put in this camera retention harness. With the clip horizontal from the connector that you unplugged from the back of the 4-inch screen, you'll plug it into this connector till the lever starts to move and lock it into place. Then you'll plug the two yellow connectors together. The yellow connector that came from our conversion harness to the video pigtail. And we'll tuck that out of the way. Next, we need to install the GPS antenna that comes with the Sync 3 system. What we're going to end up doing is pulling out this vent structure here by removing the 4 screws across there so we can locate it just above the ductwork below the dash pad. You can just pull forward on the vents once you have the screws out. We'll flip it over, and there's a small connector in between the vents that is for the hazard switch. And you'll push where my thumb is, there's a little clip, and the connector unplugs. We'll set this aside for a moment. We're going to locate the antenna using the double-sided adhesive that came in the kit right on top of this piece of vent right here, because it'll be below the dash pad with no metal above it. I've already placed the adhesive pad that comes with the kit on the back side of the antenna. We do include an alcohol wipe to clean both surfaces before you apply the pad. So I'll reach up here and clean the surface on the top of that ductwork. We'll take just a few coils off. That's all we're going to need from the antenna. We'll run the wire down and around. Tuck the coil in. And we'll just push down on the ductwork to get the antenna in place up above the ductwork, and then let go. And now it's stuck up there. It's right below the dash pad. And we'll reinstall our vents. You need to take this connector, be sure to reconnect the hazard switch by sliding it in until it clicks. Then we'll take the vents, push those back in place as well, and replace the 4 screws across the bottom. Now that we have made all our connections, we'll take the Sync 3 screen with the module. It'll already have the screen cable attached and the brackets on the sides of it as well. And we need to make the connections to this module. First, we'll connect the main 54-pin connector here to the back of the module. One very important thing is that these cables may come shipped in the lock position for this connector. So you want to push in on that little lock and swing the lever out all the way before you try and connect it. If you just try and push it in, it will not make a solid connection. So you'll take this, push it into the back of the module, then use the lever to draw it the rest of the way in. Next, the USB cable gets plugged into the darker black plug on the back of the unit with the clip facing up until it clicks in. Last, the GPS antenna gets attached to this connector in the upper corner of the module. There's a clip on this blue connector. You need to face that clip down when you plug it in and push it in until it clicks. And you can swing this around. Next, we need to set this in the opening and line it up with the screw holes. Now we need to replace the 4 screws that held in the other screen earlier to hold the new Sync 3 system in, and we need to replace these 2 screws at the top of the ACM. The bottom 2 corners come through from the front dash panel, so you do not want to put screws in those bottom corners because that'll come through when we attach the dash panel. Next, we need to replace the front dash panel bezel on here with the new bezel shipped with the kit that has the 8-inch opening. It will reconnect the same way as the old one came out. We'll take the new connector from our T-harness and plug it into this connector right here on the driver's side. and just push it in until it's all the way in. Then the other connector will clip in with the clip facing up till it clicks. You'll need to make sure you tuck the connectors and wiring from the T-harness below the ACM before you try and reinstall the bezel, or else it'll get caught. Once that's in place and it's all lined up, we can just click the new bezel in and then replace the 2 screws in the lower corners. With the screws in place, we need to replace the silver trim that we removed earlier that goes all the way around the bezel. We'll just set that in place and begin clipping it in all the way around. Now we need to replace the other piece of silver trim that was down below. And last, the black piece of trim that was around the shifter. Next, we need to run the can opener flash programmer that comes in the kit to program other modules in the vehicle to accept the 4-inch to 8-inch conversion. You need to make sure that the pigtail is attached to the can opener flash before you try and run it. You will take the end of the pigtail and, with the ignition on or the vehicle running, plug it into the diagnostic port underneath the dash. We'll plug it into the diagnostic port, push it in firmly, and we'll turn it so you can see the LEDs on the programmer. It'll blink blue while it is running the program, and while it is doing it, it'll reset your audio control module a couple times. Once the programming is complete, the light will turn green on the programmer, and now the modules are programmed in the vehicle. You can then unplug the can opener flash programmer, as it is no longer needed to be connected to the vehicle. Now that the installation is complete, we'll fire up the system. It may take a few moments to boot the first time after installing it. Now that the system is loaded, you'll see that we have Sync 3 installed in this vehicle. Because this one was optioned with navigation, you'll have navigation as well. Also, with our kit, when you do the 4-inch to 8-inch conversion, you do gain automatic climate controls. Just keep in mind that this is single zone automatic climate controls, and only the driver's side function will control it. The passenger side controls do not do anything. Now you see how simple it is to install our 4D Tech 4-inch to 8-inch conversion in the 13 to 16 Ford Fusion. Thank you for checking out our video. I'm Scott with 4D Tech.